Hey, good afternoon, everyone. We are excited to welcome you all to today's webinar on Careers of Future, hosted by Safalta Stars, which works with hundreds of students to help them discover the right path. My name is Utkarsh Lokesh, CEO and editor at EdTech Review, and one of the experts at Safalta Stars. And we have with us Sumant Palipu from the Funnel Story, whom I have known for a long time now, and he has spent a lot of time understanding the pain points of students in universities. So he has experience from both the sides. Hi, Sumant, welcome.
Hi, Utkarsh. Hi, everyone.
Yeah, no, I think thank you everyone for joining again, and we'll just kickstart Sumant the webinar with one of the most challenging questions that arises in any student's mind. So, because when you talk about what framework do you recommend and how should one go about choosing the right university for future ready careers, what are your recommendations and frameworks to be kept in mind?
See, I'm sure this is the time where a lot of students are already undergoing this kind of a thought process. Not just students, their parents as well, right? And personally, I always believe that education is a very invested decision. It is not something which people take superficially just by looking at some advertisement or somebody told them something they would like to experience, where they would like to study, especially if you look at undergrad education, 4 years of B.Tech or 3 years of BCA, any of those streams. But that's a good part of your young age, nurturing
Yeah,
time where you spend in a particular university or a college, and the experience there goes for lifetime. We might forget a lot of other people we meet during our corporate career journey, but very hard to forget the friends we would have made at the colleges, right? So I think these are all inherent aspects of decision making when somebody is making a decision. And I know people who have joined a college because their friends are also joining. So yeah, including as not such a non impactful reasoning as like that, to a lot more mature decision making happens around this aspect. So in my experience, in fact, when I say experience, my experience of as a student who was choosing because I did my engineering way back, that's probably 2 decades back, 20 odd years back. So when as a student who did my own, when what was going through my choice parameters, and then later I did my MBA from IIM Kozhikode. Even at that point of time, there was so much of choice. There's so many few IIMs, other business schools, etc. So everywhere it was a decision, and sometimes leading to a decision fatigue as well. So one of three of the four critical parameters, if I may list down, which I personally was looking at it, and when I was guiding a lot of students, close to 4 lakh students, I've trained, guided over the many years, over the last decade. One critical element is, the see. Eventually, education is about outcome, right? So
yeah.
you pursue an engineering to come out with some kind of an outcome. Now outcome, one thing I would like our audience not to mistake, outcome is not always equivalent or equation at an equal sign to placements.
Yes, I think this is
Placement,
the number one thing to
absolutely.
understand. Yeah,
Yeah, in fact placement should not be the only
only
reason.
criteria. Yes.
Correct. Or the criteria to choose a university or a college, because what leads to that placement is the most important part, according to me.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
kind of nurturing, what kind of skills, what kind of pedagogy, the programs, all of these are the ingredients or the processes which leads to an outcome called as placements. Because
Correct.
none of these universities or colleges are placement agencies. You don't go with I'm putting a cash deposit year one. After 4 years I withdraw it as a placement. Doesn't happen that way. It might look so outside superficially, but when you go through the journey, it's a student journey which transitions, or transforms him or her into an outcome. For all by the time you complete your 4 years of engineering or 3 years of BCA, you might not want to actually go for placements
and
also.
and that journey that you're mentioning about can be like with the peers, the kind of peers that are there, faculty, the kind of industry exposure you're talking about, like a combination of these
Absolutely, you're bang on that. Right? It's a combination of multiple thread which comes into picture, right?
Hmm.
It would be right from the starting of what program you end up choosing, what stream you end up choosing, because that also the pedagogy etc. comes into picture. The kind of the innovations a university is having in their teaching methodology or in the partnerships they're having, right? Something like an industry integration into their curriculum, right? Then the peer group,
Yeah.
what
No,
kind
I
of
think
people. Hmm.
this brings me to associated question, but let first you will finish your thought and then I'll probably ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also we need to appreciate that any university or a college is not just for the purpose of studying alone, or for the purpose of it. Because if you look at a career is not just a degree which you get, right? It is also the personality which you build up in this journey. So universities or colleges which also gives equal importance and opportunities to look at development of their own persona. Either that could be in their own interest areas. I would like to pursue studies or engineering along with pursuing music, and both of them are given a kind of a prime importance. In fact, I'm a big advocate of when universities I work with, I tend to tell them, why don't you give credits to such kind of extracurricular activities also,
Mm.
right? So that the effort is not, it need not be only academic in nature, but it is also a non-academic, but something which inherently sports, for example, it builds a person, it builds a competitiveness, it ability to withhold it. We all been watching this recent series of Indian England test series, the resilience which is there in the sports people. So
Yeah.
so multiple aspects of a persona is very critical at this age, so that when they come out, they are not just coming out as a better students looking for placements, but they're coming out as a better human beings. For example, universities are promoting sustainability today, the
Yeah.
eco-friendliness. So when you look at a university, don't my in fact I will not, rather than saying what you should do, one of the
Should
don't
not do.
is placements alone. Okay, which university is giving you placement? Because uh,
Yeah.
99% of the universities in India, happened or not happened, claim to have a 98% placement record.
Yeah. and
So
it is always not a reflection of sometimes university rankings also, right? Because I
absolutely.
understand that the actual experience that people are looking versus how they prioritize the brand name. This is also a tough question to answer, Sumant, and I'm sure you have had conversations with students and universities in that context. So maybe a little light on that also, because what you mentioned is absolutely spot on in terms of the support systems and the learning culture, and that the part of the ecosystem that is being offered rather than just the placement alone.
True. So your question was on what kind of branded, does
Yeah, so basically my question was that should students prioritize brand name or the actual experience, or and is it true that always university rankings hold true for the experience that they get? I'm assuming for parts of it, yes, parts of what the framework should look like in terms of the overall student experience, but what has been your experience speaking to students and
see.
university?
Yeah, like I told you, any university which is branding around placements only, for me, that's not a branding. That's a expectation, right? That's the kind, that is what you're expecting out of a place, to provide you that opportunity. So for me, that is not the branding part. But however, you're right. See, some of their universities, thanks to their years of legacy which they have been there, and the kind of alumni which they would have churned out, and the success of those alumni, the brands would have been built. Because if you look at any university, there are 4 or 5 integral pillars which build the education system around a university. And I worked extensively inside around these universities. Of course, it is going to be the faculty, right? The kind of faculty there, because they are the ones who are teaching you or interacting with you on a day-to-day basis. So they are the ones who are mentoring you in your nurturing journey, right? What we talked about, the transformative journey. So, needless to say, faculty do play an important role. The second parameter, of course, is going to be the close association of which these universities work with industry. Because when you say outcome, you might be amazing in generating your own outcome, but if that outcome is not being taken by the industry, it doesn't make any difference. Because eventually you have to be, either you have to be placed into industry tomorrow after you graduate, or even if you're coming out with a product, or your own entrepreneurial, thought process, you need to sell it to your industry. So you being in line with the trends, with the market, with close to what kind of problem statements are being addressed and how they are evolving, because technology and a lot of things are transforming very fast today. So it's very
Yeah.
important to choose a university or a college which is very closely working with industry, having professors of practice. These are people who are working in industry and then still come and teach you. They bring in real time problem statements, case studies, working very closely with a strong industry brand name. So for me, the brand of, more than the brand of university, the brand of an industry partnership is also very important,
Yes,
right? For
definitely.
example, I know a few universities that work very closely with IBM. IBM IBMers themselves come and teach in the classroom.
Yeah.
Now, they don't just teach you a typical theoretical knowledge. They bring your a practical case understanding study into your classroom, so that what you're
Practical
learning is
exposure, right?
correct. What you're learning is actually applied to real time, and as a result, your learning is accelerated. Or else, they will tell you, okay, this is the kind of solutioning which we have done. So it's a very close to industry kind of a learning curve. So that is also an important parameter. The third, part, of course, like I told you, is emphasis of a university on multiple aspects of your development. It could be communication, it could be activities, it could be the clubs they are part of, the sports they are part of. So how actively do they support you to nurture yourself? Sustainability, eco-friendliness, all of these aspects, which are the buzzwords. They are not just the buzzword, but they have an impact around the bringing up of a particular person. The other important parameter is also the location as well, Utkarsh.
Yeah.
Multiple times, I think it's slightly put aside. Of course, I have studied in one of the premier business schools in Kozhikode. It's in Calicut. Might not be a tier one and tier two as compared to a Bangalore, or compared to a Delhi NCR. But I have traveled across the globe, and and spent significant time in each of these pockets. One of the things I've always realized is that in any point of time, let's say for example, there is a university in Delhi NCR, you are closer to what is happening in that particular trend, as
Correct.
compared to the next, a little slightly geographically far away location. Nothing to take away. I've seen amazing students, amazing institutions come out of multiple other tier 2 or tier 3, what we call as cities in India.
Yeah.
But the quantum of leap effort for a tier 1 university student compared to a tier 2 or a tier 3 is slightly more. So location also is an important aspect, I would consider. If you have an opportunity to prefer a Delhi
I
NCR based.
I totally agree, Sumant. And because see, why does it matter is also because of the access, right? You were talking about access to better internship, industry, live projects, startup ecosystem, and of course there are so many frequent. And you have been partially in that space earlier, so you have seen the frequent tech events, hackathons, guest lectures, networking events, MNCs coming in kind of presence in form of supporting incubator, accelerator. So a lot of this definitely is happening beyond tier one now. But the career that you are choosing, the stream that you are choosing, let's say if you're talking about tech careers, right? So like if the market, if you see the market data to support this, of course the cities like Bangalore, Hyderabad, Pune dominate in some sense,
Mm,
right?
mm, mm,
And
mm.
you have to be wary of the fact that those cities are dominating in these careers. But of course, for depending on the career stream that you choose and the practical exposure that your city offers versus that university offers, definitely adds a lot of value. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and I had one more question on the previous point on the framework that you were talking about, university selection. So before I lose the thought, I thought I'll ask you,
Absolutely.
where do you, how do you stack affordability and ROI in the framework? Because that is also a concern and question for students and parents. Because when we speak to students day in and out at Safalta Stars also, that is definitely a question. Of course, depending on what courses they are kind of picking, what value they are getting, might be probably not the first question, but is the question. So what, how do you stack that up?
No, that's needless to say, it's an important decision parameter. Like I said, the see, when I say outcomes are important, outcomes are also an important parameter, right? Outcomes either in terms of the placement, in terms of the entrepreneurship promotion, the kind of startups that have come out of it, international education that would have enabled, right? Partnerships are important, industry partnership, cross education institutional partnerships, global partnerships, right? These are all the parameters. Like I said, the nurturing the environment out of it. So if I say there are three parameters, the fourth parameter still will always be the kind of programs they have, because we don't want to study into a course or a program which is still not in the future. There are a lot of programs is evolving. For example, AI is evolving in a tremendous manner. So what kind of pedagogy that will happen, the entire pedagogy faculty, all of them has a very important parameter. In the decision element, needless to say, the affordability and the ROI. In fact, for me, more than the affordability, the second term is a
ROI,
more
yes.
important, okay, ROI. Now, again, I repeat, the ROI is not a cash deposit you do. Okay, I pay X amount of money, so when I pass out, would I get so much of salaried placement? No, it doesn't work that way, because placement is in an individual's hand than in a university's hand. University is only a enabler. They're only a opportunity provider, not a
With,
guarantor.
yeah, ecosystem provider for that. Yeah.
Correct, correct. Now, the way I see is that, and I come from a lower middle class family, and for a very long period of time, I always believe that education has the power to transform careers, to transform families, to transform society, to transform nation, and to a larger extent, to transform the global model itself. So, if there is one place where I would personally not compromise spending money, I mean, though I don't want to use the word
Yeah.
spend, it is an investment, would
Correct.
be education, right? Because
True.
education is a proper investment. In fact, when students also, and when I interact with the university, I say, so a lot of students ask for scholarships, discounts, and all of this. In fact, I don't even like to associate the word discount with education, because education has that significant impact. Today, when you're paying it, you might think, what is this money and all of that, right? But if you look at the larger element, and why do universities also need that money? Because they have to run and give you so much of facility. So don't get into the utopian conversation
Yes.
of education should be for free and all of that. No, I mean, you need that fund to give you the quality also, right? So you should not spend absurdly, because I know, and for wrong promises.
Yeah.
That means I know institutions or models which are evolving today, which says in 4 years you'll get this guarantee, that guarantee. Again, don't get carried away by a wrong promise and put the money there.
Yeah.
It's where you
Because
need to.
because at the end of the day, it again depends on your
Correct, correct.
efforts and
And
kind of achieving. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And look deeper. See, I think one of the point I also want to mention is, when you look at a university, look deeper, okay? Because you are not just joining a university, you're joining a program, right? Let's say, for example, I'm just giving you a case in point. There is a lot of trend is happening around AI. So a lot of people are moving towards AI. In
Yeah.
fact, standalone AI itself for me today is of not of much use. A lot of people are moving towards AI's application today. AI individually was good many years back, because I joined a computer science engineering when I joined engineering. Honestly, till today, I've never leveraged that or never used that, because after that, I realized that it's not of my interest. But I joined because the trend was computer science.
Mm.
Then I realized, what, I don't like this. I'm not enjoying this, and I can't do it. They get into this coding and everything. Then I transferred into management, right? So one of the point here is that, look at the trend. Look at, not just don't go by the trend of, okay, AI is happening, so I only will choose a program in AI. I only want AI. If I'm not getting AI here, I'll go to AI somewhere else, right? More the important in a part here is that AI is not a standalone program. AI is there in everywhere today. You go mechanical, you need AI. You go civil, you need AI. So today, technology is an integral part of every stream. So look at
Correct.
such kind of programs. What is your primary interest area where you want to look at? For example, I want to look at something in agriculture. Amazing. Then a university or a program which blends agriculture and technology into it, because technology runs the scalability today. is the kind of combination. And that is what some of the partnerships will also enable you, because you as a university or an academician might still go in a very traditional structuring of your program, but when you bring in an industry partner or a global partner or an IIT partnership, any of those natured partnership, they bring in that kind of an angle to your program. That's where these
Correct.
partnerships are also very important.
Because because tech roles are still in demand for sure, but the definition is expanding, as you said. Because if you talk about traditional tech jobs, they are still core, but students today are being hired for hybrid or applied tech roles that you mentioned. And I think
Correct.
across industries that is true, not just like, let's say, software development or data science, but also cybersecurity, agri, sustainability. I think absolutely spot on that. In
Correct.
terms of relatively, how do you apply AI, right? Or how do you apply tech? So that is the main focus from an
Absolutely.
industry perspective.
Correct,
Got it.
correct. So never ever evaluate is it a good stream? There's nothing called as a good stream or a bad stream. Every stream of education or a program has its own relevance in the larger business context,
True.
right? The only conversation is this the right thing for me as a primary stream, and then how is it adapting or how is it evolving as per the changing technological advancement which are happening. That's the kind of a little more wiser decision, because these are all decisions which you cannot retract, Utkarsh. This is a decision you take it for 4, some people for 40 years, right? So you might want to choose as per the part of it.
True, true. Let's dive deeper, Sumant, on the program nuances to evaluate, right? And we of course partially mentioned university selection framework, but if you go deeper on, let's say someone comes across a certain course or program, how do you continue to evaluate that, and what aspects do you want to focus on, right? Because there are so many angles to look at it, from an industry integrated program, or let's say skill outcome that you were talking about, and probably strong academic and industry collaborations, internships, a lot of things, right? So how do you see? Of course, one simple answer is to look at all of this, but like, how do you prioritize? How do you look at value adds across these factors, right? Maybe a deeper angle on what these programs should be from you would be really handy.
No, absolutely. I know I was emphasizing on the industry bit. So if I were to give you a priority order, right? Number one for me will have programs which have a very close, delivery model associated with industry. Okay, from in my experience of seeing people, students who have been successful in their careers, that is probably the highest. It beats nothing else, rather than a standalone, individual kind of a program. And the
Got it.
reason again is because it's the closest to the outcome we are aspiring to. That's all.
Mm,
Nothing. There's no there's nothing a biasness around it. It's just that keeping the outcome in picture, it's the closest, right? Now that's point number one. Second, you don't decide, or you don't get excited or carried away by a trend of today, because you're not passing out, you're not getting into a job market today, you're getting into a
true.
job market after 4 years,
4 years or 3 years,
right?
yeah.
So your ability to watch out for the trends, because I mean, one of my colleague and I have been discussing the same thing. Today we are talking about Chat GPT, right, which is a very popular AI tool
Agent,
which we
yeah.
use, right? Or in fact, till about yesterday, we were all, even today, of course, some of us all go on Google as a search, as a primary search. If you look at it, a massive piece like Google itself is giving away its search share to something like Perplexity. Today, Perplexity would have come in. Tomorrow, there could be something else, right? In marketing, we're talking about SEO, search engine, and all of that. That entire thing is now shifting to AI optimization. So we need to understand that so a lot of those marketing folks today are just figuring out, okay, what is my, I have done this course, so what happened to my career? So I
Mm,
think the key there, Utkash, is that when you look at a program, some of those basic skills remain similar. For example, we are moving into a generation where you don't have to be a coder anymore, right? You can leverage AI and other things to be coding into it, right? In my opinion, the second and important nuance you need to be watchful is that, is this a particular stream which is long term sustainable,
Hmm.
not for today but 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. I briefly
Agree.
remember there was a time when suddenly B.Tech in information technology or IT or something which has gone to the high, and today a lot of these universities are not offering that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right? Like, so just don't go by the buzzword of today, which is nice, important, but your achievement is not getting a degree B.Tech in AI as much as understanding what it is after 4 years.
Absolutely, and so happy that you mentioned, because the the primary point that you mentioned actually is not just one point, right? It is a mix of so many points, because when you talk about industry integrated or industry led programs, you're talking about quality curriculum, you're talking about uh, like skill focus, you're talking about capstone projects, live case studies, a lot of things that are being covered, right? I think
Absolutely.
that is how someone should be focusing on. And of course, like
Truly.
you mentioned, like a B.Tech in AI, is it relevant from a 5 year horizon perspective or not? uh,
Mm.
7 year horizon perspective or not? A lot of things. And if an IBM or a TCS, if Infosys, they are kind of creating the curriculum from a market need perspective, how relevant it is, of course, for students, is a great win for someone to kind of achieve, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think as an individual, also you should also be on that evolving track as well. The tools are changing, the technologies are changing. So it is not that, okay, I picked up this course and that's not just that. For me, the fluidic, the entire evolution or the learning curve you're going through is also very, very important. And you brought in a very important point. One of the other parameter is also the projects. Eventually, how much ever you learn theory in the classroom, your ability to go execute it, build the projects, doing the internship. So any of those programs which have internship association, any of those programs which have, again, not the placement, I'm talking about from internship, capstone projects, because these are all will give you application of your knowledge onto the practical sense of it. So the whole reasoning or the whole philosophy of choosing the right program, or the nuances, moves around these priorities for me.
Correct.
The
Correct.
relevance of it after 4 years or 5 years, the kind of strength into which it is associated with industry, or the kind of partnership which adds the additional bells and whistles, and the kind of projects and internship associated with that kind of a program.
Absolutely. Because curriculum relevance, hands-on learning projects, then it makes sense and fall in place to be able to be industry ready, right? And that is all.
Absolutely.
Got it. Got it. No, definitely. And I think it is irrespective. I think this is also a myth, Sumant, and maybe you can also cover that aspect, because some people think that this is just true for tech careers, not all the more true maybe for, let's say, a BCom or a BCA. But how even there the industry integrated programs or skilling programs make sense. Maybe that is also a little unknown, which is a trend that we are seeing, at least from an industry perspective, which is growing,
True.
uh, not just
Absolutely. Absolutely.
not just for BTechs, but also
Agreed.
beyond.
Absolutely. See, in fact, I think we will move into a place where a degree per se is ancillary as much as the skills which are critical for us, for an individual to perform. So, BCom or BTech, I mean, that's one debate we should not actually, and I tend to refrain from that, because those are all choices based on the kind of background you come from, the kind of choice you have, etc., and the years you would like to look at it. Because like I told you, there is no degree which is good or bad, there is no program which is good or bad, there is no stream which is good or bad. So it's never a comparison of which one is good. It's about connecting with your growth plan. And again, I said, not for today, but what is going to happen after 4 to 5 years.
Hmm. Hmm. Got it. And alumni is also a good way to kind of look at success of the university, for example, right? And Do you see that as one of the key factors to evaluate when
True,
identifying the program?
absolutely. Whatever you're referring it as a brand of a university, in my opinion, brand is built by the alumni, brand is built by the kind of students and the work which is being done in the university, right? If you look at even the highly ranked universities, their ranking, one very critical piece is the student quality, the student quality index, the alumni
Okay.
index. So, right, so to alumni is the current quality of the student, the faculty, the pedagogy, all of this infrastructure, of course, is very, very important, because eventually you in a physical learning environment, you want an infrastructure which is resonating to current Gen Z kind of learning spaces. In fact, that's one area. Sorry, one area I've been very highly invested also. Many a times we ignore, we only see a university as benches and the chairs and the classroom, but so much evolution is happening in terms of infrastructure today. Not just the look of it, the grandness, because the look fades over a period of time. Today you might paint it very well, 3 साल के बाद the paint waves off. But the way the entire infrastructure is designed, how collaborative are the classrooms, right?
Yeah.
How open spacing is which is happening,
Yeah.
and I've seen some of the spaces being done very well. So these are also certain very critical parameters which subconsciously keep playing an important role when you're deciding, because it's a place where you're going to study. It's like you come to home, you always have a what room, what should go, what furniture should go, and you would like to design it such a way that it makes you a lot more comfy at home as well, right? So
Yeah.
hence the entire learning space design is also very critical, becoming a very important decision making today.
Got it. And you mentioned or covered one of the trends that is going in global education, right? And because the industry is somewhere shifting from degree centric to skill centric, right? And that is why these universities institutions have to catch up in terms of prioritizing skills, not just these degrees. So it is definitely one of the things we are seeing not just in India but globally. And of course the flexibility to, let's say, the flexible approach to these programs, also in terms of how the student approaches the overall skill based or outcome based education.
True. See, in fact, this was actually one of the conversation I remember 2 3 weeks back I was having with a very senior person in in education, it was at UGC. And if you look at it, again, when you say skill, people tend to associate skill with technology only, or of late with AI only, right? And by the way, all of us are using a lot of, needless to say, in fact, in my opinion, the kind of acceleration and leverage AI is providing to a lot of business streams is phenomenal. And that's the
Yeah.
reason why repeatedly I'm mentioning that AI is not just a technology or a technological course. AI is a part of every business. In marketing, we leverage AI. In
Correct.
academics, we leverage AI. So there's an educational AI, there's a marketing AI, there's a financial AI, right? Technological AI. So there are multiple. There is an agricultural AI. There is a healthcare AI. So it's there everywhere. So of course, probably that is one of the skills you always need to have, independent whether you are taking the stream or not. That you need to understand, how do I leverage that into my space so that you're generating scale and you're able to do it efficiently. That's where the statement comes in, right? What even I think Sundar Pichai of Google has also made, that AI is not replacing jobs, it's only replacing jobs of people who are leveraging AI. So the
Yeah.
jobs of the future are people who can leverage AI, not that it comes and takes it away. But I think the critical piece there is skill is not just equal to AI or technology. In fact, in such a democratized AI and technological world, in my opinion, skills are going to be a lot more deeper, which are going to be around human aspects related.
Yeah, and
Right.
even from our age perspective, Sumant, and I think probably me and you are similar age. I think the transition or the depth that we have seen also in the last decade or so in terms of industry academia collaboration, because of all this tech disruption, all these disruptions happening in the industry is immense, right? How deep it has gone over the years. Because earlier it was quite shallow in my opinion, right? And now
True,
that
true.
the delivery to curriculum to instructors, everything is happening in partnership with industry, and this is a great achievement, I would say, over the years.
Absolutely. Now, in fact, in this clutter, now over the next many years, and this is exactly what the statement made by the senior person in education also, is not just going to be this AI skills or technological skills or any of those skills. It's going to be the human skills. When I say human skills, it could be your ability to reason, the reasoning skills, or your cognitive skills, your interpersonal people skills, because today's generation is probably communicating with the tech more than the human interface. So your ability to manage teams, your ability to understand working in teams, working in working, getting works done in project. One of my colleague other day was telling he wanted to get some work done from another team member. The models of conversation is predominantly been chat or a text tool, right? While I was exactly what I was saying, and work was taking time. I told them, why don't you just pick up a call and talk to them? There's nothing better than a human to human communication. So I think, in the essence of so much of tech taking over, in my personal opinion, over the next 4 to 5 years, the relevant and the integral human skills will start becoming bigger. Your
Yeah,
ability, your societal skills, your ability to communicate. So all of this becomes important, and one of the reasons why I strongly advocate industry, working closely with industry, is because when you learn the art of let's imagine a working professional who is at a senior, who is at a partner level or at a manager level in that in an IBM or any of this companies come and teach you. You are communicating with an industry professional, and they insist and they ensure that you are communicating with them. They not just come and teaching you. And obviously they are professionals, right? The kind of communication they communicate is very professional in nature. So you start learning and picking up on those skills, and not just the tech skills you learn from them. You actually
yeah,
learn, okay, how do I present this? They work very closely with you in your capstone projects, in a presentations. Oh, then you get to know, so, oh, this is how you put it out, this is how you present. Because creating a PP today, you can go to a cloud and get it out. But your ability to communicate that as a thought process, as an idea, as a presenting it as a philosophy. So I think going forward, these are the skills which are going to give a student's edge over just knowing the tech skills or the AI skills.
got it.
And
Definitely,
universities
definitely
and institutions who are investing into that are probably ones I would like to be one of my parameter of choice also.
makes sense. And because you have done some work on the corporate partnerships and kind of assessments on what they look at. So, what do you think are some of the employability trends, or maybe I would call it, let's say, what are the employers looking for, right? Because this is from a, let's say, from a university program perspective, what it has, and are you in sync, or do you agree that all these are in sync with the industry employer expectations, and how is it? How are the some of the trends that you are seeing in this Indian market?
See, I mean, I think I'll probably give you an example, and because I'm trying to give examples so that students or whoever is, are looking at it also understand what is happening in industry. Genpact, which is a massive tech organization already, and I'm sure a lot of you are aware of it. Okay, it's based in Hyderabad, also their primary office. So, in fact, last evening I was with their leadership, their learning and development head, and along with some of the. Now Genpact is already a tech leader, so you might call it as an industry, one of the top industry leaders.
Yeah,
So, and they have huge number of employees.
correct.
In fact, these 3 days, another specialist who is specialist in AI, not in India, from global, and not with Genpact, some other organization, is actually investing him or the himself for the next 3 days in next 3 weeks, in fact, starting with 3 day pilot, in training the leadership of Genpact on the future skills. Now, there are two important things there, and of course, needless to say, one of them is the AI, the Gen AI. In fact, the training is happening around how do I leverage agentic AI in their entire business decision making, etc. And for those of you who are probably not used to the word agentic AI is probably the latest AI trend which is happening, where agents does the work for you. A
Yeah.
lot of repeatable, executable work is done through agents. Okay, so now the two important takeaways, and this is a very, very important piece everybody should follow, is one, a large organization like GenPad, which is probably an inspiration to a lot of education institutions and an aspiration to join, themselves today are
They,
still looking to skill themselves above.
of
You
course.
understood? That means their senior leadership. I'm talking about people who would have had at least 25 years of experience under their belt and done seen massive industry. Today are being trained on the latest technology. In fact, the same session apparently happened 3 months back on some other technology. In 3 months, technology has changed. In 3 months, they are being retrained on agentic AI.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think one of the two very important trends which are coming out is that this evolution of technology changing every day, taking over a lot of or making a lot of things irrelevant. In this space, it's important to, as an individual, to continue to be trained, to continue lifelong learning. What is a very repeatably used words, very,
Yeah,
very
and not just look at these programs or careers as 4 year thing that you have to do, but
absolutely.
lifelong. Yeah. Get it.
Absolutely, and I promise you, the 4 years of learning which you're probably going to learn might become irrelevant after 3 or 4 years after you pass out. Also, and that is not just true. You choose any university, you might end up becoming that. All you do is choose a good university, which will probably is a little more futuristic. That's all. But the important part is that you need to build that skill of continuously evolving and learning and relearning and moving forward. Only then you will stay relevant. That's one very important psychological skill which is being developed or across the industry today. It's not the technological skills of future or the trends which are happening. So what industry is looking at people when they are hiring is that very important quality. Okay, today I'm taking you for this skill, but does he or she has the willingness, have shown the example of continuously learning and doing something which is abreast with what is happening in today's world or tomorrow's world.
Get it. Get
Yeah.
it. And
So
and
mm.
do you see the industry viewing, let's say, B.Tech graduates in, let's say, uh, or I would say not geography specific, but let's say B.Tech graduates versus how they view B.Com graduates, how they view BCA graduates, and do you think that the skill gap that we talk about is being plugged by all these three in some sense, and uh, is there a different lens to it from an industry perspective?
See, from an industry perspective, I think, like I told, they are moving into a notion of uh, degree agnostic to skill focused.
Yeah,
Okay, and for example, uh, whether it is a B.Tech student or a B.Com student, in fact, B.Com is a little more. Let's say BCA student, okay, because B.Com is more onto the commerce side and probably a little more moves onto the business side, and the financial accounting and all of those side of things. Like if you were to do a B.Tech versus BCA, and I tell you, degree in my mind, there's nothing right or wrong or a good or a bad at degree level. Now, if I am an industrial, I am in from industry. I have an organization which works with growth of other organizations which work with on marketing and a lot of other things also. So if I am going for recruitment, independent of the degree, my thought will be on listed on three parameters. That's exactly where industry is looking at it. For example, one, when I'm communicating with somebody, let's say I'm looking at a marketing profile, and very hypothetically I'm explaining how it happens so that people can relate to it easy to the example. Somebody comes and tells me, hey, I am a good marketer, not even going into a marketing. Let's say I'm looking at a content writer. We have all of these copywriters, content writers, which is probably the starting part of it. I'm very good at English. I write good content. I write marketable content. Or I'm a designer. I create wonderful designs and I'm very creative. I said, brilliant. But I'll probably evaluate them. There is somebody else who comes and tells me, sir, I create good designs and here is my work of design. However, I have also created scale and I've able to create models of these designs, templates, etc., leveraging AI. My preference would be to the other person. The
Right.
reason being, thanks to AI, what three people can do can be done by one person today. That's all. It is not replacing the people. It's
Yeah.
just that I'm able to, or rather, for me to wait till to have three people to create that scale today. Through one person, I'm able to create that scale. So the value per individual is increasing by leveraging the agentic AIs and all the tools which are happening. So somebody
Yeah.
who can give me that advantage, I would prefer, whether it is a BCom or a B.Tech independent,
True.
right? And that is not a difficult element to learn. A lot of universities, good universities, are teaching that, and people themselves are learning it also. The second, right, today he is using one particular technology which will going to become irrelevant exactly after 3 weeks. If after 3 weeks he or she comes and shows me, so this is a better technology to do this kind of a work, amazing. That means they are constantly adapting, changing, evolving, learning, and bringing purpose to the business. Second, look out for me. And three, somebody should be able to communicate and communicate this with conviction and showcase it in practice. That means if I'm going for a B.Tech or a BCA student, they show me this is the kind of work I have done. Not just talk about the theory. Okay, this is the kind of project where I've solved this problem. My preference would always be to them, because for those who have done it, right or wrong, have put the effort of discovering what goes into it.
Correct, correct. No, definitely, and I think showcase or demonstration of this is also demonstration of skills in some way, right? Because just saying that I've done an online course on marketing or design or something from Coursera or let's say edX, it doesn't kind of give you the authority to kind of claim that job or probably be, let's say, better positioned for that job, right?
Absolutely.
And if you talk about key elements of all the strong student profiles, which I would want you to also cover in detail maybe. But if we talk high level, we are talking about not just academic strength, but like certifications, the internships, the capstone projects, passion projects, hackathons, LinkedIn. In fact, I'm not sure if the students know this, but like more than 70% recruiters today scan LinkedIn and GitHub before interviews. So I think something around that, maybe for you to have certain blogs, as you said, like if you can express, communicate what you are working on, what you aim to work on, all of this adds up to that student profile.
True, true. And there's a Gen Z communication and there is a recruiter communication. So you need to be a little wary about that. The reason I'm saying is that Gen Z communication is much more right in terms of the way you express it. Yes, I appreciate people who express it openly, but that people also look at the maturity of your communication when they are recruiting you. In fact, not
True.
just recruitment. Of late, even visas,
Yes,
evaluation whether to give you visa or not is happening through your social
social
channels,
profile.
and listening, what people call as social listening. So they
Correct.
socially listen to your voice, your tone, your intent, your expression through the kind of words you use. So just copy pasting a chat GPT communication and putting it a blog is also not seen as a good part of it. When people
Yeah,
try to recruit you. So I think you're very, very relevant point you brought, Utkarsh. We're so much
got it.
obsessed around the academic stream and academic part of it. Many students, or many of us tend to lose out on a lot of other peripheral, yet very integral and important part of it. Yes, the programs, the industry partnerships, the learning, the projects, the internship, all of that is amazingly important. Probably takes away 60-65% of credits in your eventual outcome. But what is
Yeah, and
also
and and for industry, Suman, the way you mentioned, right? It is also, let's say, a filter for you to stand out in the crowd of degree holders, right? Because if you talk about all these projects that you were mentioning about, the end goal, or I would say, if you step into the employer shoes, you are not just seeing the output of that project, but you are seeing associated digital fluency, comfort with tools, software, all of it in one go, right? and the
Absolutely.
communication also that you mentioned. I completely agree, and I think this is definitely one thing that probably adds to the employability aspect, right? And uh, irrespective of the course or program you are in, if you are able to demonstrate that em- in terms of industry exposure and certification or internship or capstone projects, it definitely is taking you into the top
Absolutely. And I think
10%.
this again boils down to the input question you asked, at the start, Utkarsh. How do I choose a university or a program? If
Yeah,
these are the output they have to generate for you, you go back and choose that universities or programs which is actually imbibed all of this into their curriculum and to their program,
yeah,
right? Because that is when you can get that output, right? That's where I mentioned the starting also, to generate an output, a process is very very critical.
yeah.
So that's how this entire loop keeps running also.
Hmm.
And that's a place where even today recruiters are, like you rightly said, are not just coming to a branded institutions. Today recruiters come to institutions which where they know they will file, because unlike earlier, it's not a mass recruitment era we are in right now. It's a very choiceful, selective but high value recruitment happening. The way I see it, in about 4 or 5 years, this 3 lakh starting salary kind of a jobs will start becoming irrelevant.
True,
Okay,
true.
in fact, which means not that you're going to lose jobs, which means in fact it will be replaced by a 7-8 lakh starting salaries,
Yeah,
but not 100% replacement. Let's say there are 100 3 lakh salaries available today in the market. That would probably be, so budget remains the same. Budget still remains for a hiring purpose 300 lakhs. Nobody is trying to cut down that budget. But in the 300 lakhs, they try to probably pick up 50, 6 lakh people.
correct.
So
and
all
and
the
and at the end of the day, if the skill is dominant, right, for employers, you have to see, if you do a degree from an average institution, so-called average institution, uh, and if that doesn't serve for these purposes that we were talking about, then at the end of the day you will anyways have to do some level of upskilling even to join a first job. So that
correct,
is again a cost, right? And which is why you have to, while evaluating, understand that whether you want to do an integrated or a industry led B.Tech, or whether you want to kind of do just B.Tech and then upskill yourself separately, which again is a uphill task, because then there is that the ecosystem differs, right? In
correct,
certain
correct.
cases. Yeah,
Yeah. And even the universities also which are searching for that 56 lakhs are the ones which are going to thrive tomorrow. Because
mm,
if you're only caught up in creating talent or pursuing those 100 3 lakh jobs, you will suddenly move into the backward trend. So these are the dynamics which are happening right now at industry level also. Not again, I repeat, industry are looking to recruit. In fact, if not anything, they're actually recruit more right now in terms of the value. The only difference is that earlier it was quantity, today it is value. Value recruitment is where the move, the entire model is going. That's why they're willing to pay more for that value. So as a prospective student, as a prospective employee, you need to show that more as also in your value proposition.
got it, got it. Any closing remarks? I think I'm seeing the time as well. So we are towards the end. I don't know if we have questions from the audience, but meanwhile, maybe we can pick up some of your closing remarks in terms of the program nuances, university selection, anything that you want to re-highlight in terms of what students today, looking at admissions, looking at university selection, looking at program picking, what they should be going after.
No, sure. First of all, I would really like to thank Safalta Stars for organizing such an important, timely, session. The reason being, of course, it's also an opportunity for me to, share my thoughts, especially because I work very closely with so many students and these universities. Any of those students who could probably, take a benefit of, again, wisdom is the key element here. You want to take certain wise decision at this point of time. And I myself, being a beneficiary of a good choices of education system, and having worked with them, really wanted to put out the thoughts of what should go also. So I think firstly the kudos to Sapalta Stars, and you really truly are creating a good career guide model around you, which is which is really heartening to see, because students need a very authentic and a very honest career guidance rather than which is biased. Now certain very important things we've discussed already. Just to summarize it, like I said, one, when you are choosing a university, there is no right or a good or a bad university. When you're choosing a university, choose a university which provides you that kind of a nurturing environment, or the kind of programs and the kind of freedom to help you to evolve and build to reach the outcomes. So your decision is should not be based on how many placements, because again, the university might have 2000 placements. What if your name is not there in the 2000? Doesn't make a difference, right? In a 5000 student base, 2000 placements, or even if it is 98% placements, and if you happen to be in those 2%, you know that's not you do it, right? So the important part is that a university which will ensure you, or which provides you an opportunity to be, even if there are 10% placements, you're still going to be in the 10%, right? So
Yeah.
always select the university, the programs which are facilitating that kind of a skill building for you. Okay, and that's where it will help you to move closer to your dream, as to your aspirations also. And one of such programs, or such kind of impact creating models I've seen recent times are programs which have strong industry integration with certain global integration, because they bring in global trends, either global university partnerships, or cross education institutional partnership, like with an IIT Roorkee or with some other IIT. So that, because there's so much of knowledge sharing, because they see they have certain value. So some of these kind of institutions which have such kind of partnership will at least give you a platform where you're not just learning unidimensional, but you're learning multidimensional. And three, and very important part is also to start looking at skills which are not for today, but which are
Correct.
for next 4 5 years future. That's how your program selection, etc., will happen. Focus on building your personality all around. It could be sports, it could be arts, it could be communication, not just academically brilliance, but a 360 degree. Do practical projects, be hands-on, because that's what industry loves to see when they're recruiting you. Be trendy is not just the way you dress up, but trendy in terms of what is happening in the market, how you leverage the technology to solve your space. It's not only a technological job. Even if you're in mechanical, you are in petrochemical, always look at how, what kind of technology leverage you can look at it, so that always creates a scale. And invest a lot into your human skills, your societal skills, your communication skills, your presentation skills, right? Your emotional intelligence, the emotional quotient around it. So invest into those skills, because those are going to be the differentiator skills going forward. Not tech skills, not AI skills, but human skills are going to be the differentiator. I think those are the few points I would really like to share with the audience as a summary of the question.
Awesome, awesome, Suvarna. Thank you so much for your insights across the priorities for students, and I'm sure the people who attended and could kind of pick all these insights and kind of will implement in their decision making. But even those who could not attend, we'll try to summarize key pointers from there here and send it across so that they have uh, a deep dive on the selection criteria and the focus areas for their careers of future. So
Yeah,
thank you so much. Thank you
thanks,
to
thanks Prakash, for
Prasad and thank,
organizing
yeah,
this. Yeah, thanks a
thank
lot.
you. Bye.
Yeah, all the very best for all the students who are looking for admissions into good universities and to kickstart your prosperous career. Wish you all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you, Suman. Thank you so much.